Hi, I'm Sara Garcia. I'm a Master in Digital Literacy, Cultures, and Education. While I was doing my master, I was part of a pilot program by Wonda VR. That was AI powered VR environment for teacher training. So I'd like to talk to you about that for a bit. The Wonda VR summer program was designed to test an AI prototype internally during the summer to train the teachers on prompt engineering in a fun and creative way and demystifying AI with a hands-on creative approach. So first we have to give a little context of what all of these words mean. So we'll start with virtual reality, and we mostly have an idea of what virtual reality is. So the thing I want to focus on is immersion. And immersion is defined as a loss of awareness of space and time in the real world. In other words, a sense of being in the game or in the experience environment. And you have two types of immersion: low immersion or high immersion. And high immersion involves the use of head-mounted devices that allow for multisensory stimulation and engagement through increasing use of immersing content that results in better learning results. And this is particularly true when the VR is used for spatial visualization and understanding insights that are hard to reproduce in reality. Like, we could be in space, we could be in the moon talking about gravity and actually see things bouncing around, like depending on how strongly we throw them, stuff like that. And low immersion is something we are most familiar with because it is acting on a virtual environment through keyboard and mouse or controllers. So it's the kind of immersion you have from playing a video game, let's say. And the other important concept is that of artificial intelligence. And as you can see, is circles within circles. So our broadest thing is artificial intelligence itself. Sorry. That is a field of study focused on creating intelligent machines that can mimic human thinking, learning, and problem-solving capabilities. And we are very, very far away from actually having an AI that can mimic human thought. So don't worry about it. What we do have is machine learning. That is a subset of AI that empowers machines to learn from data and improve performance without explicit programming. So you use algorithms and statistical techniques so that the machine can find patterns in data and stuff like that. And within that, again, we have deep learning, that is using algorithm and statistical techniques within a neural network like structure, which means that it can recognize more complex patterns and it gets closer to what an actual human being uses to interpret and understand data. And bringing us closer to ChatGPT, that is the program that we use for this project, is the concept of natural language processing. That is another subset of AI that focuses on enabling machines to understand, interpret, and generate human language. And that is essential for ChatGPT's conversational abilities. And how do we get to that conversational ability? Through large language models. And that is what ChatGPT is. It's a massive language model that was pre-trained on a vast amount of data and possesses a broad understanding of language, and since it understands, it can also generate coherent and contextually relevant responses in conversations. ChatGPT stands for Generative Pre-trained Transformer. And what we mean by generative is that it has the ability to generate texts that, think of it like it being a very skilled chef. ChatGPT has a lot of different ingredients, a lot of different techniques that it learned by being trained, and now it can put those together in new ways to produce new dishes, to generate new text based on what we ask for it. And it is pre-trained by having a comprehensive library that is, well, exactly that. It's like a vast collection of books that covers several various topics, and from that ChatGPT can gain knowledge of the language patterns from its existing repository that it has been trained on, and so it can draw upon those different bits of data to generate a conversational speech, so it doesn't sound as well like a robot. And transformer is a more technical term. Is the algorithms used by ChatGPT utilize self-attention mechanism to capture relationship between words in a sequence, and that can be like having a team of experts with unique skills working together in a project. So each of those experts, each of these attention mechanisms, pay attention to different aspects of a conversation and contributes their expertise to achieve a collective result. So you have these different attention mechanisms that, well, being redundant, pay attention to different parts of the conversation, different contextual clues, and that again makes it sound like not so much of a robot. Now, to talk about the project that we actually did, the sampling for the co-creators was based on an open call for all the School of Education, and then was targeted to people that had experience with virtual reality, but not with prompting, not with artificial intelligence. And we ended up being 5 students of the School of Education that worked on the project and 2 main investigators. On our first session, we first validated the agenda and outcomes. That just means that we talk about what we're going to do, review the assets, what we were going to be working with, the Wonda VR environment that we were already familiar with, and we got to define the 3D environment and, most importantly, what product we will be presenting. And we decided that the most important issue we found ourselves as when we were training as teachers was the difficulty of facing a real world scenario without very little previous experience of it. So we decided to use a neurodivergent child in a high school environment. So we set up our playground where we were told very quickly what prompts were and how to make and import a custom avatar. Part of our outcomes were, as I told before, saying what our educational need we were going to fill, how to best approach this need, what the end user will be, and what will the outcome look like. So the end user was teachers in training. The educational need, as I told you before, is the necessity of having some training on how to deal with real world scenarios in a low stakes environment. And we decided to use a teenager in a high school with a set of characters that will also know things about her, and task the end user, the student, with gathering information about her. After that, we did a workshop with the people at Wonda VR, where we were told how to prompt like properly, and then we got to tinker a bit with those prompts with our characters, and then we presented our characters to the whole group to review them, to see what worked, what didn't, and what was missing and stuff. And I want to go to the next slide just for a bit to show you the persona pattern. This is the kind of prompting that we were told how to do, and it's actually very easy. It's a technique used to provide context and consistent personality. So you specified a persona, the character traits, the knowledge base. If you ever played, I don't know, video games or Dungeons and Dragons or stuff like that, you know how it is to create a character. If you ever did theater, you know what it is to create a character. Is like that, like establishing the script. And you use natural language, so you just start with you are A, and then you feel the character that you want to present. Sorry. And then we had a testing phase that was a week of asynchronous work, where we were perfecting the conversations and the prompts, testing if the characters were given appropriate responses, if they sounded like real people. And so we assessed all of that, what we saw as lacking, what kind of thing was working well, and then presented our feedback to the whole group. The character I was tasked with producing was the educational psychologist, and this is a persona pattern kind of prompting, where you first state who you are. So in this discussion, you are Alia. You are a psychologist, trained in blah, blah, blah. You are a strong science communicator. You believe in a student-centered approach. You have family members that are neurodivergent, that gives you personal experience. All of those little things that make the character more realistic. Then we have the caveats, like you'll tell the student you don't want to talk about Jay because you haven't assessed her yet. You will not give a diagnosis or recommendation. You will give general recommendations. If asked, you'll be polite but withdrawn. All of those little things that, again, make the character, the temperament even of a person. And lastly, we have the knowledge base. That is, what does she know about the situation? What does she know about the J in particular? And you have to actually tell the program what it is this person knows, right? You cannot leave it blank, because the conversation will be absolutely nonsensical. So it's just general things. The professor told you Jay is smart but scatterbrain. If you ask about some of the other professionals, you say you don't often work at this school. If you're asked about the father, you'll answer you only know what the teacher told you. And if you are asked for personal observations, you'll mention that you saw her interact with some other girls at recess. But Jay got extremely upset because they didn't have what she had for lunch, and so the girls left, which is a very important bit of information that we are hoping that the end user catches. And this is another type of character prompting. You can use language patterns, and we have to do this with the character of the teenager because her language pattern was pretty much the same as a grown-up. So we have to tell her that you will use contractions, you will use informal language, you will get upset if they tell you that you're speaking wrong, stuff like that. And since we are in a linguistic conference, I think this example is very, very appropriate. That Spanish is your first language, English is your second language, so you often sprinkle bits of Spanish into everyday speech patterns. And as you can see here at the end, you even have an example that you give the algorithm to follow. So you can follow up how are you in English with ¿cómo estás in Spanish. So we can do that level of manipulation to the characters to make them fulfill the specific need that we have. And now I would like to give you a 5-minute demonstration of how the environment actually looks like. So here you can see our virtual environment. We're in a classroom where we see the special education teacher, this is the psychologist, the form teacher, el profesor Guía, and here we have the student Jay and her father. And we have a handy reminder of what we have to do here, and our task is to investigate the context of this child and to interact to gather data about her. So we'll talk a little bit with Jay first, and please be patient because there is a little delay between the input and the generation of the answer, so bear with me. Hi Jay, I'm Sarah, new TA. I hear that you've been having issues with school.
Hey Sarah, nice to meet you. Yeah, school's been a bit tough for me lately. I'm not really sure why I'm having these issues.
Oh, I'm sorry to hear that. I talked to your professor before. He told me that you're having issues with homework and with attendance on some subjects, I think.
Yeah, I struggle with handing in homework on time sometimes. It's hard for me to stay organized and motivated. And yeah, my attendance hasn't been the best in some subjects. It's just been a bit tough for me lately.
I see. That must be hard. Do you have any particular subjects you like better?
Definitely. I really enjoy art and creative subjects. They allow me to express myself and think outside the box. It's where I feel most comfortable and confident.
And what do you do on your free time?
In my free time, I love playing video games. It's my way of escaping and connecting with like-minded people online. I also enjoy solving puzzles and exploring new ideas. It's a lot of fun for me.
Well, I'm glad to hear that you have your own space, even if it is outside of school. Well, I would like to talk to your other teachers and the psychologist and maybe come up with a couple of things that may help. Do you think that can be helpful?
Yeah, that sounds great. It would be really helpful to have some support and guidance from my teachers and the psychologist. I want to do well in school, but sometimes I just need a little extra help and understanding.
Of course, everyone needs some extra help sometimes. And where do you think we should focus?
I think it would be helpful to focus on improving my organization and time management skills. That way, I can stay on top of my homework and assignments. It would also be great to have some strategies to stay motivated and focused in class.
Great, so we will come up with a couple of things and we can try them out with you and see what works. And there's no need to get it right the first time. We just have something that really works for you. And do you have anything else that you'd like me to know so I can talk to your other professors?
Well, I guess it's important for my other professors to know that I sometimes struggle to voice my ideas and thoughts properly. I have a lot of ideas in my head, but it's hard for me to express them clearly. It would be great if they could be patient and give me clear instructions on what they want me to do.
As you can see, sometimes the software goes a little crazy and changes the voices of the subject, so it's still a pilot. So Jay, how do you feel about this conversation? Do you think we can help?
I feel pretty good about this conversation, Sarah. It's nice to know that someone cares and wants to help. I think with some support and understanding, we can definitely make a difference and find strategies that work for me. Thank you.
Okay, now I'll talk to this other character, Ben, and you'll see he has a very different personality from Jay. Hi, I'm Sarah, a new TA. I hear that Jay is having some issues at school.
Oh great, another person sticking their nose where it doesn't belong. What's the problem now? Is my precious daughter causing trouble again?
Oh, no, of course not. I just heard that she has some issues delivering homework on time and stuff like that.
Well, isn't that just fantastic? My daughter can't even manage to turn in her homework on time. I guess she's too busy playing those damn video games. Maybe instead of worrying about her homework, she should focus on getting a high score in Fortnite. That'll really get her far in life, won't it?
Well, I'm pretty sure that she can handle both having hobbies and also doing well at school.
Oh sure, because playing video games for hours on end is such a productive hobby, right? Look, I know what's best for my daughter, okay? I don't need some TA telling me how to raise her. If she can't handle her responsibilities, then maybe she shouldn't be allowed to have any hobbies at all. Simple as that.
Oh, I'm sorry, I wasn't telling you how to raise your daughter at all. I was just about to talk to the other professors and the psychologists to find some strategies that might help Jay get better grades and be able to handle the homework. And I was wondering if we could count on your support to implement these strategies.
Oh, so now you're trying to play the good guy, huh? Look, I don't need your strategies or your support. I can handle my daughter just fine on my own. I don't need a bunch of professors and psychologists telling me how to do my job as a parent. So you can take your strategies and shove them where the sun don't shine. I'll handle things my way.
Well, as you can see, we found a very aggressive parent, which, as most of you might know, is not unheard of. And yeah, well, we'll have the link to the environment at the end of the presentation if you want to play around with it yourselves. And the implications. Why does this matter? But the thing that comes to mind most easily is that it's situated learning and it's realistic. You are studying in the place where you are going to use that language, when you are going to use that knowledge. And it's as realistic as it can be. It's even more realistic if you have a head-mounted set, but even what we saw right now is more realistic than doing role play during class, for example. And it's also very low stakes, which gets you to the moral quandary of the thing. When we do practices as teachers in training, we are in risk of making decisions that can affect these children for a long time. And on the other hand, if you make a mistake in an environment like this, it really nothing happens. So it's a perfect opportunity to try out different ways of being, different ways of asking stuff, different ways of, gathering information. That was the main point of the environment. And these two last points are very related because, as I said before, we can have virtual reality that is high immersion or low immersion, and we cannot leave the budget aside in trying to implement it in Paraguay. It's just not realistic to ask the university to buy all of the head-mounted sets and all of the computers and have reliable access to the internet. So that's very unlikely to happen. So a way to implement this in a classroom in Paraguay right now is have one laptop with a projector and reliable access to the internet, and make this collaborative. So for example, the lecturer can ask the class, what kind of questions should we ask of Jay? What kind of questions should we ask the psychologist? And try that out and see the responses that generates, and then talk about the different implication of those responses. Try to figure out what is information among all the data, what is important of what the child said, what is important of what the professor says, and kind of look for patterns, see what is that is repeated again and again and again, and what does that imply. Stuff like that. I think it's very easy to implement in class at the moment, at least with this particular scenario, because it's available online at Wonda VR's page. Sadly, we cannot tinker with it unless we are part of the Wonda community, but at least this environment can be useful for education. Thank you so much for your attention, and if you have any questions, that's my personal information, and that is the link of the experience if you wanna give it a go and play around with it. Thank you very much.